We're live.
So
Hit it, Miss Leigh.
Look at us doing this without the guys.
I know.
Welcome everybody to In Other Words. So we were so excited today. We were going to have Sarah Lyons, who is a past recipient of NIR's 30 Under 30, here to talk to us about the word success. But in true real estate fashion, we all know how it is, she had a real estate fire to fight. So we have rescheduled her, and she's going to be back with us on September 2nd. So Jody and I decided that we would just pick another word and go with that, and we chose spontaneity because, of course, that's what came top of mind. So today we're going to talk about spontaneity. Jody, tell me what's going on with you, and then tell me what spontaneity means to you.
Okay. So, very busy week. We do apologize. Sometimes we chat without you guys beforehand, and we were chatting, and it is truly amazing how busy you can be in this virtual world from that. So I have my first real estate negotiation expert class coming up for Greater Boston. And I also have a really fortunate coming up that I'm going to sit in on Miss Leigh York's session coming up for Greater Boston, who is doing At Home with Diversity and a brand new class, which Leigh is telling me is absolutely fabulous in that. So we're actually going to be on our personal pages after that if you want to jump over and find out more about those two things. But so I have a lot of those types of programs coming up, and that's what I have on the roster. Besides At Home with Diversity, Leigh, what do you have coming up?
I'm going to be doing an SRS class, the Seller Representative Specialist. So we're going to be doing that via Zoom. Looking forward to that. And then I also am going to be going to South Dakota to do some professional standards and
in real life.
In real, like face to like if they'll wear their mask, they can touch me, right? My hand, touch, right? No hugs.
Yeah.
So, but I am excited. I've made friends up there over the years. I've been lots of times, and I'm excited to go back. I'm always excited to go anywhere. I'm a travel bug.
Do you have a professional standards mask, like the code of? We should give you like a code of ethics mask.
Maybe, yeah. So, we'll have to put some thought into that. Something really, like I've got a button. We're so off track, but I'm going to tell you anyway. So there is a gentleman in Texas that has been very involved with the realtors and in professional standards for many, many years. And so when the anniversary, and I'm not a techie Star Wars person, so I know I'll get this wrong, but like an anniversary of the movie was happening, or like 30 years ago or something, and they got these buttons that said, "May the code be with you." He kept his button all these years, and he gave it to me last year when I chaired for NAR, and it's in my desk drawer. I love it. I even take it out and wear it sometimes, but that's my button story. So maybe my mask could say, "May the code be with you." Like, as long as nobody asks me questions about Star Wars, I'll be fine. I know the code. I don't know Star Wars.
There you go.
I've never seen a Star Wars movie. So
there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's what I'm doing. What does spontaneity mean? We've only got 30 minutes. We can't get off track.
Before we get started, I just want to point out to everyone that down in the comments section is a link to the place where you give Facebook permission to use StreamYard. So when you comment, you don't come through as a generic ghosty Facebook user. You come through as who you are. So when we pop you up, your comment up on the screen or et cetera. So check that out. It's streamyard.com/Facebook. Pretty easy to remember. You just click on the button that says give permission. So just want to remind everyone of that. So you know how the guys, when they're here, make fun of us, and particularly me, about sort of misquoting everyone and not quite getting the saying right and et cetera. So the advantage of this wonderful platform is I got to put the quote on a banner here. So here it is. But, it's really interesting because when I started to sort of examine spontaneity and that, and, the first word that always comes to mind is kind of fun. And then the second word is almost the opposite, which is lack of planning. And I'm sure we'll dive into both of those topics in that. But this quote in particular about has technology changed our view of spontaneity reminded me of something my brother said probably now about 5 years ago, or et cetera. And he was talking about going out driving around and et cetera. And he said, what's the matter with driving around now? You can't get lost. Because and that was the first of our technology that we all became really comfortable with using was the GPS system. Now you have to wonder, do we really have spontaneity when we can literally do just what we're doing now, jump on Facebook live, right, and stream out and talk to everyone? When we have texting and emailing and et cetera, how does that change not only just having fun, but that sort of planning and that lack of planning from that aspect? So I really want to focus really on two things, and that is, one is the good, the fun, and two, what I think is the bad, the lack of planning. So do you fall in one of those two camps, or right along with me in both of those camps?
I think I'm in both of those camps. I will say, by nature, I'm a planner. Like my husband will tell you, it's over our 24 years, that's one of the things, right? He is not a planner. I am a planner. I don't even care if the plan changes. I just need to have a plan.
Yeah.
It can change on a dime as long as I have a plan. Yeah. I'm not settled without a plan. But like you said, as we've evolved and with all the technology and everything, whereas I used to plan to do something next month and I would plan it all month long, now I'm planning faster. So I might plan to do something in 5 minutes. So is that still spontaneous? If I have all the tools in place to plan to do something right now?
To me, the real sort of core of that is no, it's really lacking planning and spur of the moment. And that's where, to me, I also agree with you, it gets on the bad side of things, because to me, planning even just quickly is faking spontaneity. Right? And
you're calling me a fraud.
Yeah. And by the way, it's a fraud I fully agree with in this case, because I think it's a skill that more real estate agents should use, is not only just the skill of planning, but the skill of making planning not actually look like planning. Because some of the people are, and I don't know how Randy views your planning now, but when you think about in the first years, I'm going to suspect that because it wasn't him, that it was a little bit sort of off kilter for him. And that's true about some of your clients or customers. You kind of have to fake it, so to speak, right? So that you're not putting them off. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I think, as usual, with every word we go, oh, hey, Paula. Yay. I even see her little face in that red dress. She looks so good in that red dress.
Yeah.
So anyway, as usual, I'm off track, and Jody is far more in depth on the word than I ever am. I always just whatever I think, and that's what I'm going with. And I will tell you, when, our audience is agents and brokers primarily, and I'm always thinking real estate. So when I thought of the word spontaneity, I thought about every day, all day long in my real estate business.
Yep.
I feel spontaneous because I'm doing one thing, I'm planning on doing, what I'm doing. I start every day. Hey, Sandy, I start every day with the plan.
Tracking her with the shiny objects, guys.
I know, it's hard for me. But I start every day with a plan. And at the end of the day, what happened that day looks nothing like my plan. And I think that's true for all realtors, all professionals.
Yeah.
You start out doing what you're supposed to do, but then the phone rings or you get a text or, something happens and you've got to take care of that right then. I will say I learned early on a concept, again, going way back to Floyd Whitman, but close your, I know, I'm so
I
old.
always forget we were both sweat hogs.
Yeah. But closing your circles, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Even though I have to be spontaneous in order to take care of my business, I also have to be very conscientious about closing my circles. So the example, and again, this is old school. I need a digital, pretend I'm saying windows instead of file folders, right? So I'm imagining I've got a stack of file folders on my desk, and I start out the day thinking I'm going to handle all that stack. So I open one and I'm working on it, and the phone rings, and that's somebody with one of those other files. So I pull that file out and I open it up, and that happens all day. So at the end of the day, you got a stack of open windows.
Yes. Yeah.
What I need to do is go back and close one before I move on to the next. I have to make sure I'm prioritizing and not being so spontaneous that I never finish anything.
But I'm going to say that I doubt that you don't finish, because to me,
I do now, but I didn't back then.
Yeah. The fun part of spontaneity occurs when you have a plan that gets those important things done. So the first 3 files in your pile that morning were probably in your plan. You said, wow, I'd love to get through these 10 file folders, but these 3 are important and I must get through them. And they were sitting there on top. And that was your plan. Well, when all you have to do is go back and finish those 3 tasks, then it allows time and ability to that fun part of spontaneity, I think, to drift off to other things. Would you not agree?
No, I think you're right. And what about when the client is so spontaneous that it jacks up your plan?
Yeah.
I'm a little structured. And so sometimes I'm better, but, and so that would be hard for me. Like, I spend all this time pulling the properties and scheduling the showings, and I got a map, and, I got everything in the order we're going to sit, and know the neighborhood, and we're driving down the road, and the freakazoid over there says, what about that house? And I'm like, well, what about it? It's not on the list.
Right. Now, everyone on this should be understanding and completely. And if you're watching us in the replay, you should be commenting, because that has happened to every one of us, has it not?
Yeah. And I mean, now what's going on in my head and what's coming out of my mouth are not the same thing, thank God, right? So when that happens, I'm like, I don't know. Let's find out. And we pull over and, we get out our smart technology and we look it up and determine why it's not on the list, or if maybe it should have been, right? So there's when their spontaneity drives your spontaneity. So and then of course we're here, why don't we just go on in?
Which means now you need a listing agent with spontaneity and a seller with spontaneity.
Yeah, and boy, doesn't that just depend on the market.
Right.
For a buyer's market, everybody can be spontaneous.
Yeah.
In a seller's market, they'll just wait on somebody else.
And that lack of spontaneity, I like to tell this story on myself because, by the way, I think that everything that I did wrong and everything that wrongly happened to me for a reason, so I could teach other people. That's how I choose to look at it now, frankly. But
so you learn.
Yeah. So I had a buyer already purchase in a transaction, in the middle of the transaction, call me on a Sunday morning asking if he could get into the property he purchased to show a friend. spontaneity.
Mm-hmm.
And Miss Planner here said, again, thank God everything doesn't completely come out of our mouths, right? I'm thinking, like, does he know who I am? Does he know what day it is? It's Sunday. I mean, how can he expect? What are you kidding me? Etc.
I have to get dressed on a Sunday.
Yeah. And I made some excuse for that. It was actually not for years later, 2 or 3 years later, not a lot in our world of real estate, but a while later, when the property had purchased, the listing agent was actually also the seller, right? So yeah, I found out from that agent that he had resold that property for that buyer, and it was because that buyer was unhappy that I would not make arrangements to go show the unit to his friend.
Wow.
So my lack of adapting to spontaneity actually cost me directly a sale. And then he tells two friends, Yeah. How heck do we long? And a reputation with the other agent, right? Who no longer thought I was, such
as awesome as you are.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so I've got a question on spontaneity. We always define our word, and we really just jumped into it today. So I know I'm backtracking, but I'm gonna anyway. What is spontaneity? Meaning you do something immediately right now in the moment with no planning whatsoever? Or is it something different? What do you think it is? I mean, define it for me.
Okay. So here's where we may miss the guys, because we have two planners here, right? Both Leigh and I. So to me, it is jumping right into something without a plan. And I think you either plan or you fake that spontaneity. So to me, it is completely jumping into something, good, bad, indifferent, personal life, work, whatever, but there's no plan to it. And I would also say there's a reaction to spontaneity as well, right? So you can react and join in on someone else's creation of spontaneity, or you can react and not join in as well. That's my definition. Total. It's funny because I keep wanting to say chaos. Is that the planner in us? I want to say, it's total chaos, no plan.
Well, but you know what? I also think of spontaneity as just being something you do instantly without any forethought. But at the same time, I think that my spontaneity now looks different than my spontaneity at, say, 18 or 20, because of the miles I've put on, the experiences and the education that I have now, right? So, hopefully I'm making better decisions, right? But I do think of spontaneity as being something instant. And I love that we immediately jump to it being something that's, fun and out of the box. But I will say that a phrase that comes to mind is spontaneous combustion. Right? So, I do think it's like, and of course, my best example for that is something that I'm terribly guilty of, and that is not thinking before I speak. Like, at this point in life, most of the time, I'm much better at that. And certainly when I'm working. But when I'm not working, when I'm all relaxed and comfortable, it's pretty likely that something's going to fall out of my mouth very spontaneously that I probably should have thought about first. So that's my spontaneous combustion.
Oh my God. I don't have that perception of you at all. And we've certainly been in situations where lots of things could have fallen out of your.
We're always close to business.
Yeah.
You haven't been out on the back porch with me, right?
But you made reference to when you were younger, right? So I think that's the planning versus spontaneity of sort of life lessons, which are morals and actions and etc. And hopefully we've learned those and learned the proper places for being planning or being spontaneous and within our sort of moral conduct, so to speak. The issue is, I think, is that for many of us, we need to bring those life lessons into business. And, we have a lot of our followers are really new in the industry. I think that there's something like 60% of NARs, if I remember from the latest member report, 60% of like less than 5 years in the business. So
by the way, after 2 or 3 transactions, they feel like they're veterans.
Yeah, exactly. I think that doesn't leave them the business sort of moral character or professional standards, your world I'll translate it to. So they run the risks and the dangers of the lack of planning and the going with spontaneity as well. Wouldn't you? Don't you think?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. So every week with our word, we always end by giving, like a challenge, something to do, right? And so I'm really struggling with, if the word is spontaneity, to tell me what you're going to do this week that is spontaneous. That seems to defeat the purpose, right? So Jody, what's our action item for the week? Because why sit and listen to us for 20 minutes and then not go do anything, right? So
yeah,
what's our action item?
So I'm going to actually go with the reverse of what you just said. And I'm going to challenge people to do some planning this week, which allows them the time and the ability to be spontaneous and the comfort level. So that spontaneity is on that fun side of the definition, right? So you've heard me challenge you to do this in the past, which is, get up, get going, have a morning routine, get those, as Leigh said earlier, the 3 folders that I must have and the 10 that I'd like to get, if I could, and, and get that action into place so that I have time in my day to be spontaneous. And frankly, I think there's a lot of cool things that you could do as well that will serve not only your sort of refresh your personal self, but refresh your business as well if you go out and have the fun side of spontaneity. That's what I say. What do you say?
I think you're right. I think you leave time to do what you want, and in that time you can be spontaneous. Okay, that's good. I'm going to say dig out scripts, right? You probably got them in a lot of your education stuff, or you can find them online. I think I know there's some on my website. I'm sure there's some on Jody's. Yep. The guys probably have them too. I mean, everybody has scripts, right? And I know a lot of people hear the word script and they just cringe. But y'all, that is how your parents taught you to talk. Right? You learned with scripts. Your parents said, say mama, say daddy. That's a script, right? That's how we learned. So go review your scripts. Remind yourself of those things because that gets you comfortable. Then when you answer appropriately and like with this awesome answer or an awesome question, it'll seem spontaneous when really you've just refreshed the knowledge that you needed to be appropriately spontaneous. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. It absolutely does make sense. And I think that's a really great way of looking at scripts. We should start substituting spontaneous in there instead of that. Script seems to be one of those 4-letter words, even though it isn't.
It's a spontaneous answer based on knowledge.
we're going someplace with that.
Brilliant. This has been fun. You know, I love the guys, but quite honestly, I think we did all right without them.
Hey,
you know, I know everybody missed them. We do too.
Yeah.
But I feel good about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully we'll get some comments going and down there and some engagement in our comment section. And we want to remind you that next week, what do they say? Same time. See, no, I'm going off the cuff on those things.
Same time, same channel.
Bad channel, yeah. And our word next week is conversation. So we're having a conversation with Bill Risser, and we're really excited about that one. So
yeah, I'm excited too.
Yeah.
And you know, Bill is next week, but also we've got some really good folks coming up. Like I said, Sarah Lyons is going to join us, looking like September 2nd. Yep. Cliff Long is going to be here, I think, in just a couple of weeks. Cliff is like a famous association executive and does a Monday motivational thing. I mean, he's great. Look these people up, y'all. We're finding good guests. So please join us. And don't forget to like, share, and follow. If you follow, we can tag you.
We can tag you. And again, if anyone joined us hoping to see Sarah, she is going to be joining us in a couple of weeks, and we will be posting it. So hopefully you have liked, shared, or followed us on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. And so you'll get the heads up.
We're on LinkedIn too.
Yeah. And, you know, let us know how, maybe we'll have to have the guys do. So we'll have like a battle of the boys and guys.
Yeah, we'll have to think of it. We have to think of a less exciting word for them, though. We got to stack the deck, right?
There you go. Okay, well,
I think we're good. Unless we have any questions in the chat, and I don't see any.
I don't see any either. So, thanks everyone for joining us. We had a blast, and go out and be spontaneous now.
Yeah, this is fun.
If you want to know more about our programs that we have coming up, go hop over to our personal channels, and you're going to see Leigh and I there shortly. And we're going to be talking about the real estate negotiation expert and At Home with Diversity, 2 programs we're bringing right into your living room. So check us out there. We'll talk more about it. See you next week, everybody.
Bye.